I think hustle culture and productivity obsession have melted some of the wiring in my brain, or at least fried some of the connections between my mind and my heart. This is something that I've been trying to repair and reconnect over the past year or so, and I feel like I've made some progress, but it continues to prove to be quite the challenge. The mentality I'm talking about it's very different from the brain rot that comes from overconsumption of social media and doom scrolling and video games and adult entertainment, but it's similar in how there's a certain nagging lack of satisfaction, an itch that needs to be compulsively scratched for a fleeting sense of relief. Some days I just feel overwhelmed with this anxious, jaw-clenching frustration that I'm not doing enough, that I'm not where I need to be, that my life is just slipping through my balled-up fists, and hitting the gym or jiu-jitsu class has been really helpful in snapping me out of this headspace, but it still sits there, staring at me in the corner of my mind, haunting me, whispering and waiting for its chance to crawl back behind me and place its jaws around my throat again. And I've realized that I will never be enough to satisfy this life-sucking monster. I don't know how to destroy it, but the truth is, I'm not sure I want to, because those dark feelings and fears also fuel me. As long as I'm running away from not being good enough, then that means I'm running towards always being better, right? Maybe not, but this constant striving and performing gets exhausting. Feeling like every arbitrary finish line you cross is meaningless the moment you cross it. The motivational fuel running the engine is laced with comparison, the thief of joy, and therein lies the meat and potatoes of what I'm trying to get at. It's like I don't even recognize what joy is anymore. Sometimes I even question if I ever really knew what it was. I feel like I've spent the better part of the last decade chasing external validation and gratification, if I'm being brutally honest with myself. I've been chasing counterfeits to true connection to try to satisfy the emptiness in my soul. I've been trying to finally feel like I am enough. Maybe if I make enough money, maybe if I get enough women, maybe if I get enough followers on social media, maybe if I can put my name up in lights, maybe then I will feel fulfilled. Maybe then I will be worthy of love and respect. But one of the problems with chasing this external validation is that it tends to start to really overinflate your ego. And I think that's the effect hustle culture has definitely had on me. And the thing about an inflatable is that it keeps you on the surface of the water. You can't go deep with a big ego. Everything you value becomes shallow and self-serving. Life itself starts to seem less like a meaningful experience and more like a strategic game, like a chessboard where productivity, social accolades, and material success reign supreme, where anyone who is not making big moves is a disposable pawn.
Someone has to flip the burgers, dumbass.
Where anything that is not immediately adding to my life is subtracting from it. Where anything and anyone around me becomes an object to be used and leveraged for personal gain. Friendships turn into networking. Relationships turn into status markers. Music gets replaced by podcasts. If it does not produce, it has no use. If it doesn't serve you at all times, then it's not worth your time. But no matter how much we amass and take from the world, it's still not enough, because beneath all of the bullshit that we are buying, until we believe that we are enough for ourselves, nothing will ever be enough for us. But this is exactly what we want. This is what we are begging for. This is success. This is what it means to be a high-value man or a high-value woman. This is the lifestyle that we glorify and condition ourselves to through comparison and ambition. It is a sweet nectar laced with rat poison. It's called the rat race after all. But if we strip it down and look at it in the light for what it is, we see that it is a twisted, lethal concoction of individualism and materialism that, when mixed together in the right amounts, produce only one thing: narcissism. I've been so focused the last few years on trying to make money and build a social media following that now anything that is not accompanied with heavy immediate gratification or external validation has started to lose its flavor. I think the external grind has ground me down internally, and even though I'm far more materially successful than ever before on paper, I'm also more isolated than ever before in my life. And I could try to cope with that by telling myself that I'm just a man apart, that I'm built different, that I'm a chosen one, that everyone else are sheep, which is a tempting self-aggrandizing narrative to believe about ourselves, just stroking those fires of narcissism. And even if it is partially true, no one is meant to do life alone, hyperfixated on self-interest and self-elevation at the expense of others. This is where you run into egomaniacs like Wes Watson and Andrew Tate. And while it looks like success on paper and at material face value, it costs you your soul. It disconnects you from your humanity. I think that is what is meant by absolute power corrupts absolutely. Which gets really interesting because in the modern world, we are afforded more safety, sovereignty, and individualism than ever before in human history. We don't need anyone to survive anymore. We don't need our neighbors. We don't need our friends. And as a byproduct, we adapt to this environment and we start to deceive ourselves and feed into a sense of having absolute power over our lives and what we feel like we deserve. A lot of people's egos today are so deeply corrupted by this pseudo sense of power that they have become completely incapable of relationship. They will sit on their high horses looking down at the world, convinced that everyone else is the problem, that no one else is on their level. And I know this because I have sat in that saddle and I feel like it changed something inside of me. I don't know if any of you relate to this, but I almost feel like there is a pane of plexiglass between myself and most other human beings. Interactions almost feel staged, like other people are paid actors in my movie. I'm living the Truman Show. My empathy has taken a hit. It's like I don't really care as much for friendships as I used to. I don't care about other people's lives and struggles as much unless it directly affects me. I can feel my humanity has stepped away from me. And the scary part about that is that it's almost comforting. Selfishness feels safe, caring less, being less responsible for anyone but myself, centering my feelings and desires, curating a bubble of control, a little kingdom where I am the king, the captain, the dictator, the judge, the jury, the executioner. I don't have to share my toys or my space, and I can simply cut out anyone who doesn't get with my program. Positive vibes only, my standards, my boundaries, my life. And the darkest thing about this is that this is exactly what we are being sold today as self-love and empowerment. Empowerment. Power. And at what point does empowerment look more like power hungry? I'm trying to swing this pendulum back, but I currently still struggle with feeling like I need to chase productivity and success exclusively and at all costs. And I hate to even confess this out loud because it sounds awful, but even spending time catching up with a friend can feel like a waste of time and energy when I could be doing something more productive that gives me a more immediately gratifying return on investment. Sometimes it feels like the only thing that has kept me human has been my romantic relationships, my family, and my writing. And I don't know if anyone else is going to resonate with this or relate to it, but I just wanted to get on here and talk about what I'm wrestling with within myself right now.